What's up, everybody? Your pal Miles here, and welcome to a new episode of Shabubi. For those of you who have been here before, thanks for coming back. For those of you who haven't been here before, a little breakdown about what we do here at Shabubi. I take a show, a book, and a movie, hence the super cool logo. Shout out to my sister Deanna for making the logo and building the website. If you haven't been on the website, go ahead and hop on there. But basically, so I take one of each of those bits of media and I combine them together with an overarching theme. So, for example, if we take the show Angels in America, the book Sophie's Choice, and the movie Mamma Mia, what we end up learning is that Meryl Streep is a legend. So, that would be the Shabubi theme of that episode. And something else that you might have noticed already about Shabubi is that, I might spit on myself. I might stumble a little bit in what I say and what I do because I really, really never want to learn how to edit. It just seems like a miserable process. And yeah, so you might hear me kind of stumble or lose my train of thought. It's like hyper realism. Think of it like cinema verite. Very exciting stuff. But anyway, what we're going to talk about in this month's episode of Shabubi is something a little bit different. We're going to jump into and shine a spotlight on Black History Month. So instead of doing your traditional Shabubi episode where I take a show, a book, and a movie, I wanted to go ahead and put a spotlight on a few really prominent Black artists. And so the folks that I chose from each of those arenas were Donald Glover for all of the great work that he's done in television, Colson Whitehead, a multiple Pulitzer Prize winning author, and Jordan Peele, who, of course, just made some movies that are some serious cultural phenomenons. So let's go ahead and jump on to it. So the first guy we're going to talk about here is Donald Glover. Now, he's had a pretty wild career, honestly. If you're not familiar with Donald Glover, he started off as a writer on 30 Rock, which is one of the greatest TV shows of all time. Super underrated sitcom. Everyone wants to talk about The Office of the 2000s, but 30 Rock is like, in my opinion, like the best 2000s sitcom. So he started off as a writer there, super, super young. And then he ended up becoming a regular on Community, which you see him up here in this shot here. He's amazing as Troy in Community. So, so funny. Just an amazing comedic actor. Then he randomly started a career as a rapper. Some of you might know him as Childish Gambino. He had a few huge hits, some really successful albums. This Is America might be a music video that you guys are familiar with of his. Which kind of leads into Atlanta, because in the music video for This Is America, it's one of the more famous music videos to come out in the last like 5 years or so, probably 10 years or so. There's a ton of symbolism about racism in America. And that is a lot of what Atlanta gets into. And I want to do a specific shout out of Atlanta because something I'm going to get into with all of these artists is how they go about approaching racism in all of their works. So Atlanta is definitely where Donald goes pretty hard in examining racism in America, but he does it in a really, really fascinating way because as he's literally described Atlanta as Twin Peaks with Black people. And basically because he takes racism and racial themes and creates this like super strange sort of like alternate reality, surreal. It's like a comedy, but it's like one of the strangest comedies you'll watch, but it's still like really funny and really effective. Like, for example, he does a whole episode, you can see him in the top right corner over here, where he is in whiteface, and it's basically all about, it's a character that's based on Michael Jackson, and it's all about how fame affects Black artists. And then he has a episode where he just rips into Tyler Perry and how he represents Black culture. He plays a character named Mr. Chocolate, and that's who we see here. He has a whole other episode about how the Goofy movie is the blackest movie ever made. It's amazing stuff. There's so much good stuff in here. In this universe, Justin Bieber is Black. Um, Rappers drive invisible cars. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty funny. But he does handle some pretty substantial themes of racism, though, even though going about it in a surreal way, because in a way, what he's trying to say is just the fact that racism even exists is surreal and strange. And that's kind of what he's going through over in Atlanta. And I want to show you a clip. It's a little long, but it's so, so good. And it's Atlanta in a nutshell. And this is This entire episode where this clip takes place is an episode from a channel called the Black America Network, and there's like fake commercials in the episode, random like other skits and stuff like this. But this is a documentary short within that episode, and it's so good. So this I feel like is iconic Atlanta content here. So let's go ahead and watch.
Harrison looks from the outside to be your average teenager. He goes to school, plays video games, even listens to music in his room. But there's one difference.
I'm a 35-year-old white man.
Harrison, born Antoine Smalls, has transracial identity, identifying as Harrison Booth, a 35-year-old white man from Colorado. And when did you know that you were a 35-year-old white man?
Well, I've always felt different. I go to the store, the movies, and just be thinking to myself, like, why am I not getting the respect I deserve? And then it just hit me. I'm white and 35. I just miss Colorado sometimes. You know, here I pretend the buildings are the old San Juan mountain range, but, you know, the job's just here.
And where do you work?
I'm a systems engineer for Coca-Cola.
Oh, okay.
That boy don't work. He go to school and that's it. One day he said, call me Harrison. I said, who's that? He said, me.
Do you believe that he is a white man?
I mean, he isn't. Shit, I'd love to wake up one day and say, hey, everybody, I'm Rihanna. But I ain't.
It's been pretty hard. My family just doesn't get it. You know, I try to get them to go out with me, go on walks, go to the farmer's market, chat with people, but yeah.
So why don't you think that they get it?
I don't think they get it because they don't realize that race is just a made up thing. They grew up having labels, and me, I'm just not like that.
I see. So how do you embrace your identity?
I dress a certain way, Patagonia. I wear a thick brown leather belt. I like to envision myself after the surgery.
Hey, excuse me, what IPA do you have on tap? Hey, did you see Game of Thrones last night? Yeah.
So your surgery, that's later this year.
Right. I started working at Stonecrest Mall, so hopefully by then I have enough money to take the next step.
So you work at Coca-Cola and the mall.
Right. Correct. I work at both.
Harrison has been planning a full racial transition with the Dr. Samuel Vergara, who guarantees Harrison can visually transition through an experimental procedure that will allow Harrison to not only be a white man, but whatever race he chooses.
The procedure's absolutely 100% possible. He's gonna look weird, though.
But before Harrison can fully realize his physical identity, he still has the day-to-day that's filled with discrimination and ridicule.
It's pretty awful. You know, you walk in the streets and black people, they see you, they're nodding to you like, hey, good to see us. And it's to the point where I've just given up. I've stopped trying to convince them that I'm not us.
Gotcha.
Excuse me, this is definitely the guy. He doesn't even live in the area. I've never seen him before. I think we're taking slow strides, but you have to believe things are getting better. Otherwise, you'll just die inside.
Is there anything you'd like to say to other black kids out there who may be going through the same thing?
Just be you at all costs, but also stop dressing so crazy.
Absolutely.
Oh man, that wrecks me. Sorry if you guys could hear me laughing, but oh, it's just so funny. But Atlanta's so good because it balances that surrealism with that comedy, but with some obviously like pretty heavy themes. You can watch Atlanta, just kick back and enjoy it and just laugh. But if you really want to dive in, Donald Glover is saying a lot about racism here, and a lot about race relations, and it's pretty amazing how he goes about approaching it. It's so smart. So, like this says, it's all on Hulu. Perfect show. Legitimately, I think it was Time Magazine did a ranking of they did a recent ranking last year of like the 100 greatest shows of all time, and Atlanta was like 10th. It's It's in the conversation. It's an amazing show. So yeah, totally watch it. It's so, so good. And now we're going to pivot over to Colson Whitehead, who kind of flew under the radar for a lot of his career as an author. He did a lot of speculative fiction, from what I understand. I haven't read a lot of that work myself, but I have read these two guys, The Underground Railroad and The Nickel Boys, because with those, which he wrote and published back to back, just a few years apart, he became one of only 4 authors ever to win multiple Pulitzer Prizes. Pretty insane company. William Faulkner, gotta prove sometimes, guys. John Updike, I don't even remember who the other guy is. Some guy, Brooke Tarkington or something like that. I don't know. Some old guy, super, super old. But anyway, you're one of 4 authors ever to win 2 Pulitzer Prizes. That's insane. And deservedly so. I mean, like I said, I've read both books, and those are probably 2 of the books that I've cried the hardest reading. I mean, they're just like profoundly emotional stuff. They're amazing. And the way that Colson Whitehead approaches racism is different than the other 2 artists that we're going to get into, because he approaches it with this really vivid realism, and it's like horrifying. But he also approaches it with like a really, really deep sense of humanity. And if you're not a reader or whatever, that's fine. But they actually made a show of the Underground Railroad, which I believe is on Hulu, and directed entirely by Barry Jenkins, who wrote and directed Moonlight, one of the best movies of the last 15 years. So that it's an amazing show, and they also made Nickel Boys into a movie last year that got nominated for a few Oscars, which is shot from a really amazing point of view. The entire thing is shot from a first-person point of view. So that humanity that Colson Whitehead inherently uses in his work is like a gut punch when you're watching the movie Nickel Boys, because you're experiencing everything that the characters are experiencing, including that really, really just vicious racism. And the Underground Railroad, just to give you a little overview of each one, Underground Railroad is, as you would imagine, a slave drama, but he actually ties in a little fantasy aspect of it too, because the Underground Railroad is a literal railroad. It's pretty interesting. It's a little bit of a surreal book. Like there's a living museum aspect to it too at one point with slaves. And again, I think it's just to sort of show that surreality of slavery. Nickel Boys is a little more realistic. It's actually based on a true story about, I can't quite remember the name, but it's like correction camps or something like that. They were called in multiple schools in Florida, where young black men were sent, troublesome black men were sent. And obviously, as you can imagine, they were pretty corrupt and didn't do anything besides traumatize all these poor black men. And it's a pretty horrific true story. An amazing twist at the end of the book, but he, like I said, he kind of takes it head on. And while there's a little bit of surrealism in Underground Railroad, so like he just characterizes his books with so much humanity and gives his stories like so much compassion and his characters so much compassion, that when tragedy undoubtedly strikes, as it so often does with racism, it hits so, so hard. So no wonder that the guy has won multiple Pulitzers, because both books, just on top of telling us what we already know about racism, they almost make us live it like we've never lived it before. It's brutal, but amazing, just poetic stuff. And finally, we're going to wrap up with our guy, Jordan Peele, who, the guy comes from Key and Peele and then makes 3 just outrageously incredible horror movies. Like, who would have thought it? The guy that's just a total goofball on Key and Peele for like 5 years. Which, obviously Key and Peele had a lot to say too about racism. Those guys didn't pull any punches, but it's a sketch comedy. So, a little lighter fare and things like that. But then he goes and turns around and makes Get Out, which a lot of people think might be like the greatest debut for a filmmaker ever. And admittedly, the first time I saw Get Out, and I'm kind of like this with all of Jordan Peele's movies, the first time I see them, they don't quite like hit for me. Like I go like, well, it's like pretty good, but I don't know. But then I go back and I rewatch them. And every time I rewatch them, I have a greater and greater respect for them. Because, again, similar to Atlanta, you can watch a Jordan Peele movie from so many different perspectives. If you just want to kick back and watch a killer horror movie, or in the case of Nope, a killer horror sci-fi movie, you can do that and you can just be entertained and you can just have a great time. But you can also take a huge deep dive into all of his movies. Like, I could do a Shabuvi episode on like just dissecting everything one of these movies has to say. It's super, super layered. With Nope, you have a really, really fascinating approach to like spectacle and how people see things, and how when we watch something we like make something reality. It's a total head trip, and of course he ties it into that racial aspect of, you know, how people equate being seen as self-worth, and he takes it on a much larger scale with an alien invasion and things like that. But it's incredible. With Us, it's all about class warfare. You know, you have these doppelgangers going up against this family, and the doppelgangers literally came from below, from underground, to go and overthrow the people above them. A little bit of class warfare stuff there. Um, Also, an awesome dual performance by Lupita Nyong'o. She plays, as you can see here, she plays both of these characters, and it's amazing. She probably should have been like won an Oscar for it. And then you have Get Out, which is an approach to racism that you really haven't like seen in film before, where it's like this, how people fetishize like black people and black culture. Sinners kind of dove into this too. Uh, so it's almost like how there's like a modern form of slavery in terms of how we make black people what we want them to be. And I say this as a white man and as a member of white culture. Uh, but hey, let the movie speak for itself a little bit here. This is a scene where Daniel Kaluuya's character, Daniel Kaluuya is one of the best young actors alive, by the way, is sort of seeing the reasons behind the like white cult that he's gotten involved with, their motivations. And I think it has a lot to say about the themes I just mentioned.
Is there anything more beautiful than a sunrise? Hi, I'm Roman Armitage. And if you're watching this, you're probably wondering what's going on. There's no need to worry. Let's take a walk. You have been chosen because of the physical advantages you've enjoyed your entire lifetime. With your natural gifts and our determination, we could both be part of something greater, something perfect. The coagula procedure is a man-made miracle. Our order has been developing it for many, many years. And it wasn't until recently it was perfected by my own flesh and blood. My family and I are honored to offer it as a service to members of our group. Don't waste your strength. Don't try to fight it. You can't stop the inevitable. And who knows? Maybe one day you'll enjoy being members of the family. Behold, the coagula.
So, in case it was a little hard to infer there, basically the whole procedure is that you have this cultish white family that likes to take black people and use them for their quote unquote advantages, uh, that they deem, that they think. Basically, they don't think black people deserve them, and they want to use them for their own advancement in society. Because, like you heard him say, combine the determination of white people with the physical advantages of black people. So, yes, Get Out is just like a mad, entertaining movie. It's so fun. But obviously, if you want to take the racial deep dive, which all of you should, because Jordan Peele has some really important things to say in all three of his movies, you absolutely could, and there is a ton of thematic depth here. So that's this week's episode, guys. I hope you kind of enjoyed the sort of alteration of the formula a little bit, but I figured considering the month, I know we've recognized some great Black artists before in some past movie episodes, but I wanted to make sure that we did it considering the month to go ahead and focus on three pretty awesome artists who have like changed a lot about their respective mediums. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Go ahead, follow me on Facebook, Instagram, the whole shebang. Go check out the website, all sorts of movie reviews and show reviews and book reviews on there. But until next time, guys, see ya.